Alrighty, happy Wonder Wednesday, everyone. I hope that you're doing well, whether you're watching us live now or whether you're watching this video in the future. I hope that you're safe and sound. So today at Wonder Wednesday, Floxies Community, we will be learning about Three.js with our guest speaker, JP Dionisio, finalist at last year's Webflow NoCode Speed Build Challenge. So I'm super excited to get to know him a little bit more. And here I come with my usual technical descriptions. So Three.js is a JavaScript library for creating 3D graphics within the web browser. So my understanding is that we will be creating our very first 3D cube today just by using the browser. So let's see if I'm right. If you don't know what we're all about, Floxies Community is an international community for women who share a passion for UX, UI design, and Webflow development. We operate 24/7 in our beautiful Discord server. We quite a fairly young community. We only started a year ago and we've grown to over 1,000 members. And every Wednesday, we host these events into our, what we like to call our accessible metaverse on GatherTown. So without further ado, let's go into our platform and see what's going on. All right, here we go. All right, I was doing some co-working here. So let me just put my camera on and my mic. Hi, Lauren. I'm going into the main room.
Yes, me too, because I see the hour and I say, hey, it's soon the Wonder Wednesday.
Yes, we're about to start. All right, I'll see you there. All right, here we go. The people are here. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
Great to see you all. Hey, JP, welcome. Welcome to our community.
Thanks for having me.
Great to see you, Maria. And Aida is here. Gabriela, Yuna, Lauren, and Yang Lin. We've been doing some co-working today with Yang Lin and Lauren. So we've been like into this GatherTown for the longest time today. Don't worry, we opened the windows. JP, how are you today? Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm good. Just finishing up the notes.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. We're about, the actual official event starts in a minute, so people will be dropping in. So this time is just like to catch up and see how everyone's doing after the week. And yeah, it's really great to see you. Like, I know I briefly saw you last year during NoCodeConf, the Speed Build Challenge, one of the finalists. So I'm really excited to see you again. Do we need anything for today's event? Do we need just a browser? Is that correct? Will we be using just a browser?
Yep, just a browser.
Awesome. Yeah, I did some research and I was like, okay, let's look for one of my usual technical description on what we're actually going to learn today. So like, I saw that Three.js is browser based. So I was like, okay, that's cool. We don't need to bring anything.
Yeah, it's actually more used locally, offline, but you can use it in the browser also.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn about it. It's like, I've always seen it around. It's one of those things that you see and you're like, oh no, that sounds way too complicated. I'm never going to try. And then here comes JP and like gives us a quick introduction to the thing, and everything just looks easier to me and more, reachable. Hi, Lizzie. Hi, Michelle. Great to see you. Oh, and Sonia's here. Many people. We have some regulars, and then we have some people that I'm always happy to see because, I don't know, maybe they haven't come in a while and then they come after a couple of weeks and I'm like, hey, welcome back. It's great to see them coming back. All right, let's see the chat. Lauren is saying hi, Floxies. Hi, Gabriella. Awesome. Lauren, you're not late to the party. The party is just about to start. Don't worry. Hey, Hillary. Great to see you. All right, let me check. YouTube is live. Awesome. All right. Well, JP, you can probably give yourself a better introduction, but if you've never seen JP before, I met him last year during the Webflow NoCode Conf. He was one of the finalists. He's defined as a Webflow wizard by himself and by other people as well, because he's actually really, really good. You currently work at Beyond Agency, I think, and you've been like using Webflow for the longest time and actually been a web designer for the longest time as well. I've done a little bit of spying in your LinkedIn, which is what I usually do with our guest speakers. And yeah, I'm super excited to have you here today. And JP will be teaching us how to use Three.js and how to build our very first cube, 3D cube, which I'm really excited about. So thank you so much, JP. If you want to like add some more details about you, please go ahead. And yeah, happy to have you here.
Okay, for that wonderful introduction. So I'm JP. I'm from the Philippines, and I've just started using Webflow like 3 years ago. Yeah, and I started my first job, a Webflow developer job, without knowing how to code in that time frame. Also, within 6 months of learning it, and now that I'm kinda a pro, you'd say in Webflow, I started trying to learn how to code, and that's where I found Three.js. It's really a great tool that you can use to code 3D stuff in your websites. Yeah. Three.js can be really daunting because we've seen it all in different awards website. But for today or tonight, I'll be sharing you on how to easily understand a basic Three.js project. And I'll just try to figure out how to share my screen. There.
Oh, yes, there you go. You see, you're a quick learner. We usually struggle with people coming and like they have to set up the screen sharing, and we usually have this like awkward 5-10 minutes of silence where I try to entertain, like humming songs. But there you go. You're amazing.
Yeah, I just saw the screen icon and hope for the best. So there. Three.js can seem impossible, but today we'll be learning how to create and understand a basic Three.js project. And with that, we'll be able to create a simple 3D cube and start our journey to learning Three.js. Yeah. So what is, oh, a bit of disclaimer. This talk won't be talking about no code. This is about yes code. So there's gonna be a lot of code, but don't worry. I will be gonna be explaining each step or each line of code to us. Yeah. So this is Three.js. It's basically a low-code version of WebGL, and WebGL uses the power of the GPU to create 3D graphics in our browser. Because commonly, the browser uses the CPU, and we can't really use it to create 3D stuff. That's where the WebGL comes to save us to create 3D graphics there. And I'll be sharing to you some projects that are made in Three.js. Okay. Oh, yeah, here's Maria Caraba's project from the Three.js journey of Bruno Simons. Yeah. That's made in Webflow.
I think I know this person.
You can see here. Yeah.
Awesome work, Maria. We're all in love with your spiral galaxy. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's really great. And here are some projects that are really nice. You don't really need to create these awesome projects right away, but seeing them upfront and right now can really inspire us to achieve
Wow.
more. So this is like a promotion for David Bowie and Adobe's program. So it's like uh, you're trying to find objects that are related to David Bowie. So for example, this guitar, or in here in the closet, you can find a treasure. So it's like trying to find different stuff in a 3D environment. It's really cool and immersive. And next, let's go to the next project. So this just came out like an hour ago while browsing Twitter. So if you're a fan of Stranger
Does he
Things,
have any spoilers? Otherwise, I can't watch.
oh no, it's just this. It's not gonna spoil you or anything.
Okay, great. I'm just watching the last episode tonight.
You can control it with a keyboard, and it's gonna move according to your inputs. So, yeah,
That's cool.
and this one's was made by Bruno Simon. It's like a 3D location of a certain winery. Yeah.
So this is all made in Three.js, no Webflow, no.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you say it's doable, it's simple.
Yeah, I'll just hide my clock. It's kind of distracting.
No worries. I'm gonna say hi to Aviv, who's watching us. I'm so excited you're here, Aviv, and UX
Hey, have
Vocal
you?
Club, one of our biggest fan.
Yeah. And this is the very famous portfolio of Bruno Simon. You can create games with 3GS. And then you don't really need to create everything in 3D for every website. You can just simply add like a 3D icon or a 3D model in your website, like this one. And I also made a 3D globe that's made of dots in a website. And you don't need to add 3D as the whole experience. You can add it just like an accent or like to make the website more beautiful or engaging. Yeah. So this made in Webflow. I added the 3D stuff in Webflow with 3GS.
Okay, so you add the code to your project.
Yep, in the before body tag. Yeah, and I can show you other stuff in
Does it
here.
affect the performance and the speed to add this kind of code?
This not really because these are just simple particles and it's rendered in the GPU and not the CPU, so it won't really affect that much. And you can try it on your phone if you want. Even with Bruno Simon's website, you can try it on your phone and you can see the performance on how it works. I'll just paste it in the chat there. And for this talk, I'll be teaching you on how to understand the code of this 3D cube. Yeah, I made it pink so it matches the Floxy branding.
Okay. Oh, you saved yourself. I thought you were gonna say something else. This is good. Yeah, let's go for Floxy branding. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also clone this in a project that I made as a 3GS template. Yeah, it's one of the pages there. Okay, so yeah, so it's imported or pasted in the before body tag, and I'll be explaining to you what each line of code means. Okay,
Perfect.
so let's go back to FigJam. Yeah, but first of all, congratulations for attending.
Yes.
Because
Well
the
done,
first
everyone,
step,
for being here.
yes, the first step of learning is believing that you can do it. Yeah, oftentimes I see websites that seems very impossible for me to achieve, and the first step on getting there is shifting that mindset that you can do it. Yeah, yeah. Press
Yeah,
F for
that's really
concise.
important because as I was mentioning at the beginning, I would never like spontaneously go and search Three.js tutorial because I don't learn by myself. I'm really bad at like keeping myself accountable. I need somebody to like you to come here and be like, okay, Claudia, step number 1, open this page, and step number B. Like I need guidance. I need a group. I need to be constantly like stimulated in that sense. So yeah. So thank you for being here as well.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Since before I was a Webflow designer, I don't know how to code, and it's been my dream to create 3D websites. And I'm not yet there in terms of being a professional 3GS developer, but it helps that I can show you my process in understanding how 3GS works. Yeah. So this is basically understanding a basic project because creating the first 3D cube is really simple and it won't take much time. So we're gonna try to understand the basic project of 3GS. So here are the three steps. We're gonna be setting up the 3GS and creating the cube and animating the cube. If you want to see the code sandbox file, I'm gonna share it to the chat. Yeah. Most of the code there are commented out. So I'll be explaining what to comment in to make the project work. Okay. So first of all, we want to have a 3D in a browser. And to show the 3D cube, we need a frame, and that frame is a canvas. So canvas is that HTML element where we can show 3D graphics. So let's go to the Google Chrome and code sandbox. So in the index.html, this is the HTML file of the website. Yeah. You can ask questions along the way if you don't understand what I'm talking about. Okay. And we can go back to it.
Do we click on this link to open that page?
Or you can
The
just
or we
watch the
just
screen,
follow?
or you
Okay.
can, yeah, if you have a separate screen, you can open it if you want. Yeah.
Perfect.
So this is the canvas, and we're gonna give it a class name of WebGL so that we can target it easier afterwards. We're gonna be using this canvas to display our 3D cube. Yes. And this script here is basically calling out the 3GS core script. So we're gonna be using 3GS. This is basically doing that. We're gonna put the 3GS in our website. You don't need to understand this for now. Yeah. And this one is basically for us to have a control or to orbit around the 3D cube. So in this website, we can orbit around the 3D cube, and that's what that line of code will do for our project. Okay. And the third script or the last script here is calling out our JavaScript for the custom 3GS. So it's this one, the index.js. So it's basically pasting the index.js in our HTML file.
Okay.
Okay. So what we have here is the canvas. We're gonna call out the canvas from our HTML tag. So this is the canvas tag with the class name of WebGL. So we're gonna call this out later to say that this is the place where we're gonna show the 3D element. Okay. So yeah. So that's the canvas. Oh. And then for our canvas to show something, we need a renderer. And the renderer is like the projector that will project the image to our canvas. And the renderer needs a camera and a scene. So the camera is basically a camera. It's gonna show us what the scene looks like. So the scene is like the 3GS world, or you can think of it as a 3GS div where we put the 3G objects inside it, and we also have the camera there to show the objects to our canvas. Yeah. So it's like creating a movie set. So we have a movie set, and we have a cameraman, and we have a cinema. So it's just gonna project to us what we want to see. Okay. So the renderer needs a scene and a camera. And the renderer will connect to the canvas. Yeah. Yeah. So here's the scene. We just create a new tree.scene. And then we're gonna go down and find the camera. So the camera is the 3GS have two different cameras. We're gonna be talking about the perspective camera. Perspective camera. The other one is the orthographic camera, where you can see the difference in scale when it's far or near. Okay. And then these properties right here, this is the angle, vertical angle, or the field of view of the camera vertically. I'm just gonna draw a bit so that we can understand it better.
Somebody in the chat is saying I love the diagrams. Lizzie
Yay!
and Aida. Yeah. Yeah, girls, feel free to share any questions in the chat while JP is explaining. If if you want anything to be repeated or anything else. Aida saying everything you're explaining is great. The way you're explaining things is great. Young Ling is saying this is similar to how Blender works, but just with the code. What do you think about that?
Yep, it's very similar. And also, Blender is heavily used to create 3D stuff to import in 3GS. And mostly you do the 3D stuff in Blender or other 3D programs to use in 3GS, because 3GS is not really a 3D modeling software. Yeah. So yeah. So the field of view, the vertical field of view is this one, the one that goes up and down. And
We have also an interesting question. Do you need to know JavaScript first?
oh yeah, I forgot to say. Yeah. You need to have a very basic understanding of JavaScript, because when I started to study 3GS, the 3GS journey of Bruno Simons, it was very hard. You can get by it, but you won't be it will be very hard to understand the basic concepts of 3GS. Yeah.
All
So
right. Well, a
if you
heads
have
up to anyone listening to us. JavaScript crash course. We're interested. Apply, be a speaker. So yeah.
yeah, if you want to understand JavaScript a bit, Timothy Ricks have like a basic fundamentals of JavaScript that is very much aimed to Webflow designers. So you can watch that and you can kind of follow along the tutorial. Yeah.
Okay.
If you
Well,
see cons, you're basically creating like a nickname for a data type. Okay. But that's just a bit very vague. So the first argument or data that we need here is the field of view, the vertical field of view. So why do I know this? If you go to the 3GS docs, you can see everything in here. So we can search for perspective camera and click it. So it's saying here that in this one, it needs a field of view, an aspect ratio, a near, and a far. Okay? So we have the field of view, the vertical field of view, and we need the next one, which is the aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio is basically the width and the height of the canvas. So we're gonna go back to our code sandbox. And in here, we're gonna save the values of the width and the height of our inner viewport. So this is like the 100 view width of our browser, and this is the 100 view height of our browser. So we're just gonna save them so we can use them later. Like for here, we need it as the aspect ratio of our canvas. And the third and the fourth arguments or the values that we need are the near and the far values. So basically, so zero point 0.1 and 100. So we're saying that at 0 at 0.1 at the distance from the camera distance from the camera is will start from the zero point 0.1 to 100. So it will capture this area,
Mm-hmm.
100. Yeah. So if you have like, for example, a cube over here that is past 100, it won't be seen or captured in the renderer or in the camera. So you can also use this to optimize for certain 3D projects. So it won't render everything there. So yeah. So that's basically how to create the camera. And right now our scene is very much black because we don't have anything in it. So to
Mm-hmm.
help us understand the 3D concept of the 3D world, we need some helpers. So this is a grid helper. We're gonna comment that in and save the file. So we're gonna have a grid. So
How did you access, how did you make it appear? You just highlighted it and entered?
oh, I added it in the scene. So if you're
How do
gonna
you
create,
add?
oh, yes. So if we're gonna go to the 3GS documentation, you can find different kinds of helper. And we can see here the grid helper.
Mm.
And the grid helper needs two values, which is the size and the division. So in 3GS, you don't really have a unit for the sizes. You need to decide on your own on what units you want to use. For example, meters or feet or centimeters. Yeah. So yeah, for the size, you can create 10 and divisions would be 10. So you just need to copy this and paste it in the code. So that's
Mm-hmm.
basically how to do that. You should also need to add it in the scene so that you can see it in the scene. So yeah.
JP, I think she was asking because it was probably written and you removed the backslashes.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I
Okay.
commented it. I think that was her question.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
like how can we actually see? Because I'm very visual, JP. So you can be talking for 3 hours, but if I don't see it, I won't learn it. So how did you make it appear on your right? I think that's, yeah, Maria. So you just
Okay.
take away the slashes.
Yeah, you press Command L to comment it out. So I added the.
That's good
So
to
if you
know.
can see it in the lower left, so
Yeah.
that's how you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was helpful to understand where you got that from in the first place as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Just
Thank you.
keep asking questions.
Yeah. I think
Since
I'm the
I might.
perfect like person to be in these kind of workshops because I don't know nothing. So you have to like you have an empty field to fill
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, this is really great because it's gonna really help me also learn what others are need to learn. Yeah. And this is basically the grid helper. So you have the length, which is 10 units wide and 10 units long. And it's divided in 10 segments because we have here the length and the divisions. Yeah. And then we're going to add an access helper. So this is also from this documentation, which is this one. Since
Mm-hmm.
3GS have different ways of or different accesses compared to Blender and Webflow, we're gonna talk about that. You can basically copy this and paste it in this code. So I'm gonna comment it in by pressing command forward slash and save it. Okay, I'm gonna refresh it. I don't think it's loaded yet. Hmm. Oh, there. So I'm not sure if you can see it's very thin.
Mm-hmm.
There's a vertical green axis and there's a red horizontal one and a blue one coming to the camera. So I'm gonna show you the diagram. So yeah. So the positive y, the green axis going up is the positive y, and the x The red one going to the right is the positive X, and the blue one going towards the camera is the positive Z. So think of the Z like the Z index in Webflow.
Mm-hmm.
And like moving in Webflow, I'm just gonna go here. And in the 3D transform, we can move
Yes.
in the X and the Y. But in Blender or in 3GS, the Y is inverted because in Webflow or in browsers, we start reading from the top to bottom. But in 3GS, we are creating like real life worlds where the ground starts at zero and
Mm-hmm.
goes up there. So that's why positive Y is inverted in 3GS. There.
Very nice.
Yeah. So this is like the 3D representation of the axis in 3GS.
You had
Yeah.
a lot of fun drawing.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we add an object in the scene, it always starts at the 0, 0, 0. So meaning, wait, so red is 0 and green is 0 and blue is 0. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this is the coordinates of the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for the camera, we needed to pull it forward towards us so that we can look at the object at the 0, 0, 0. So that's why in our code, we have our camera positioned differently. So the x-axis is at 1, going, if I refresh it, it's gonna go to the right and up a bit and back a bit. So that's 1, 1, 2. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it's gonna write that down. 1, 1, 2. There. Yeah. And then the next one is the renderer. For the renderer, we're gonna put here the canvas, which is the one that we called over here at the start. So that's we're targeting the canvas in our HTML file, which is the canvas tag with the WebGL class name. Okay. And what anti-alias does, it's just gonna make the pixels look smoother when they are slanted. Yeah. And if you want to put alpha, it's gonna show you the it's gonna take out the background in the 3GS scene. If we save that, we will be able to see the background of the HTML document. So I use that in this project so that this scene or this canvas doesn't have a black background. So you
Oh,
can see
okay.
the
It's
background.
like removing the background from the object. How do you
Yes.
do that again? What do you add?
You put
True.
alpha.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of this stuff is hard to find in the documentation, but you can always. What I always do is Google them and find it in the Stack Overflow. Yeah, it's like 99% of the stuff or the problems can be found in Google.
Hillary in the chat is saying, this is the missing link I've been trying to find for the past 8 years. Thank you.
Yeah. And for the renderer, we also need to set the aspect ratio. So we use the size width and the size height from here, from the line 24. Okay. And we also want to set a pixel ratio for our project so that the experience is always kind of the same. So in this device, I'm using a Mac, which always have like a pixel density of 2. And if you have a higher than 2, it's not really gonna matter in the experience. So we're gonna choose the lower value. So if your device have like a 4 like a 4 pixel ratio is gonna refer to 2 because we're using the minimum between the two values. So that mean is not in 3GS. It's part of basic JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
And then in here we have a animation loop. So animation loop is JavaScript. A JavaScript. It's not a 3GS, but the clock here is from 3GS. The clock here won't be really useful to us in this project, but it can be used in different animations. For for the animation loop, I'm gonna explain it with a diagram. So in this one, the camera is capturing one frame at a time. So we need to create a loop so that it's constantly sending us each frame to update in the canvas. So it's like a movie. So each frame is like, for example, if your device has 60 frames per second, it's gonna send 60 frames per second. And that's gonna be really great to us because it's gonna create the project very interactive. So if you want to, for example, rotate this scene, you can create, you can rotate it and have the project respond to your inputs there. So since we have the orbit controls here, we initialize or call it out here. We created the orbit controls here and we choose the camera to orbit it in the canvas to so which to select which element we want to use the orbit controls. So and then enable damping is like easing the camera movement. So if we comment this out and save it, the animation or the rotation will be kind of quick. But we have the damping, it's like very smooth.
Okay, so it's like the smooth effect in the animation on Webflow. Cool. Penny's approving,
And,
nodding. Yeah.
yeah,
Basically, you're like saying, I'm just simplifying.
yes.
I'm
Okay, I'm gonna
unraveling
put,
the complexity of 3JS.
yes, that's very good. Okay, I'm just gonna put back the, where's the alpha? I just, okay, I just comment it out so that we can see the black
Mm-hmm.
background. Okay, so I think that's it for the first part. Don't worry, it's gonna get much easier and simpler.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, so now we want to create our cube. So how do we do that? So basically, you go to the documentation and find the box geometry. So with in 3GS, they have different presets of different kinds of geometries. It's like templates for different kinds of shapes or objects. So we can find geometry and find other types of geometries. So we can find like a ring type, a dodecahedron.
So they're like
And,
pre-made kind of templates, and then you can twinkle.
yep, and you can also play it around them to create
Mm.
different styles. And cube geometry is kind of new in 3GS. And then where's the box? There. So in the box geometry, you can just copy paste this in your project. There. So the box geometry needs a width, a height, and a depth. So that's these three parameters, or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also add different kinds of segments. Like in this one, we have a one segment. So if you increase that, it's gonna increase the segments here. This is not really useful right now, but in bigger projects, you can use them to create different kinds of effect.
You can edit each segment and like change its color, I'm assuming, texture, right?
Yes, it's gonna be hard, but
Yeah. Why would
you
you need
can
so
do it.
many segments otherwise? Well, to move them around, I guess, like to create.
Yep, you can use different. I'm just gonna search for a project that you can use a lot of segments.
You displace them,
Yes, to displace them.
and you create bumps and waves and running.
Yes. So like this one, it has a lot of different segments, and in this project, it's basically one plane with different segments,
Mm-hmm.
and you can also see it here in the dots at the background. So it's basically a plane with a lot of segments, and you can displace them using shaders, which is a totally different subject, but it's gonna be a really fun lesson if
Easy.
you learn it. It's not
Easy.
easy.
Let's
Shaders
yeah, no, no,
are
yeah,
not very
let's
easy.
go gentle.
There.
This looks really cool,
So
by the
that's
way.
yeah. So let's now add our cube. And I'm just gonna comment it in and save this.
Mhm.
So here we have our cube. So I got that from this documentation. And then you can see here that there's a mesh, there's a geometry, and there's a material. So let's go back to our diagram. So basically, meshes are 3D object, and meshes are made up of a geometry plus a material. Yeah. The most basic geometry you can do in 3JS is a triangle. It's composed of three vertices or 3 points that's connecting each other. And all of the things in the 3JS world are made up of triangles. So this cube is actually made of different kinds of triangle. It's made of triangles. So
Mhm.
if you're typically drawing a cube, it's like this, and then you're gonna subdivide it. It's subdivided in triangles. There.
Mhm.
So if you add them together, you can create a mesh. So that's what happens here. The box geometry and the mesh basic material. Yeah. If you want to suggest a color, you can add it here.
That's the one thing that I understand straight away.
Yeah. So 3GS uses a hexadecimal literal, meaning it's instead of a hashtag, it starts with an OX followed by the hex value. So FF is also the same in in hex values, which is red, green, and blue. So if you want to turn this to blue, just turn the last two letters or last two characters to FF and start with 0000. Now we have a blue one.
Mhm.
And then this material doesn't isn't affected by lights in the 3GS. So we need different materials to interact with the lights in the 3GS scene. So I'm just gonna comment this out and create or use a different material. So this one also is not affected by lights. So this is just a quick way to see the depth of the object. Okay.
Mhm.
And then this one, mesh Lambert material, is affected by light. So right now, it turned the basic material to mesh Lambert material. So right now we don't have any light, so it's very dark. So we're gonna add a light. Also, you can add lights from the docs. And we have a lot of different lights, but we're gonna talk about directional light and ambient light. So first, let's talk about directional light. So we're gonna copy paste this and place it here.
So JP, to create the scene from scratch, do you copy and paste? Do you go to the documentation and you add each individual element that you want, like the light, the camera? Do you just copy and paste it here in the sandbox?
Not really.
Okay.
You
Great.
typically start with a starter file because it's very time consuming to create everything again from scratch. So you can use Bruno Simon's 3GS starter template,
Oh, perfect. Okay.
and you can find it in the source code and the script. Yeah. So it's basically this one with a little bit of deviation.
Mm. Can you
Okay. I'm just gonna
share the link with us,
yes.
please? Just because I know there's also a couple people that are feeling a bit lost, and like I suggested that maybe we sit on Gather one day and we try and recreate it together from scratch. Obviously, if you want to come and mentor, this is great explanation. I think we need to like sit down and watch the video very slowly and like try and do it hands on.
Yes. It's very hard to wrap around 3GS for the first time. So that's why I'm trying to
You're
do the
doing a great
diagram.
job. Josh is suggesting I think JP should create a course.
I think Bruno Simon's course is better. It's the best course out there for 3GS for beginners. So I'm not sure if I need to create another. Yeah. So right now we added a directional light. So it needs a color and an intensity. So usually an intensity starts is the full volume is at 1 and going to 0. And we place the location or the direction of the light from 0000 to 422. Okay. And we add the directional light to our scene. So basically, this is what's gonna look like. It's gonna shine from the upper right side of our scene. So if we save this, or it's already showing, you can see that it's very dark in here and it's kind of lighted here because the light is from 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2. Oh no, 2 is 1, 2, and the last 2 is 1, 2. So it's going from here, shining the box going that way. So that's why this side has light and this side doesn't have. So it's a direction.
Are they working on axis? So the 4 is the red axe.
Yep, the 4
Okay.
is the red axis
And then
or the
the
x-axis,
2,
then
yeah.
the y, then the z-axis.
Okay.
So you need to add that to the scene. And then we can add also an ambient light. So an ambient light doesn't have a direction and it just fills up the whole scene entirely. And this is kind of like this one. If you have like a mug or a spiral room without any enclosures or any closed doors, it's gonna shine it inside, even if it doesn't look like it's gonna shine there, as long as it has like an opening or a small opening. It's gonna fill in this equally with the light. So this one, the directional light only shines from one direction, but light will shine it in all direction.
Maybe it helps if you think that a directional, like the sun is very, very far away and it's a directional light because it comes from
Yes.
one side and has specific, like it goes there, you know? While a smaller lamp won't do that. And an ambient light, it's a little bit harder to explain because there's not really a physical thing that would do it, but it's closer to like having a multitude of kind of lights that shine the same light uniformly everywhere.
Okay.
Yes.
It's yes.
So it's like if you turn on the light into a room basically and it's everywhere.
It's a little bit more also that every wall, every object reflects the same light and nothing gets more or less light. It's a little bit abstract because it's not real, you know, it's not physical, it doesn't exist in real life.
There's no shade. It's all lightened up the same way.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you take out the directional light, you can see
These
that's
Wonder
gonna be
Wednesdays are becoming very complex. My brain is like it's like a
yeah.
workout every Wednesday.
So if you took out the directional light and leave the ambient light in, we can see that there's no shade in the object, but we have a light. So that's how ambient light works. It's gonna shade or light each face of the object equally.
Mm-hmm.
It's like filling it with water, but instead of water, it's light.
Okay.
Okay, so that's we now have a cube. So next one, we're gonna animate our cube. Yeah.
Yay, getting easier and easier.
Okay, I'm just gonna check which one here should we use. Okay, for this one, we can use the cube and call its rotation in the y-axis and add a value to it repeatedly. Because this is in the animation loop, every frame is gonna add 0.01 radians in the rotation of the cube. So if we're gonna save this, it's gonna rotate this. So if you don't like math, you there won't be any calculus or very high level math in 3GS. It's just basic algorithms that you just need to kind of understand it at first, and you're gonna get it. You're gonna understand it in all of your projects if you get it first.
Yeah, you need to master the technique, the basics, and then it'll get easier. I'm happy there's no any maths involved, otherwise that would make it completely inaccessible to me.
Okay, so we're gonna add like a different or a higher level of math. Here, we're gonna use the sine, if you know SOHCAHTOA or sine, cos, and tangent.
You
This is
said
it.
there's no maths.
Yeah, but I'm gonna explain it in simpler way. So this one,
Yeah, like high school math was 45 years ago for some of us.
okay, so we have an internal clock with 3JS, and we're gonna use that clock here. So we're gonna use it as like a starter timer in our project. So if you go to Google and put in sine x, it's gonna show us a wave. So basically, the x-axis is our time, and the y-axis will be our y rotation value. So if you can see here, it's gonna go and down, up and down. So the farther the time goes, the value will go up, down, up, down. Okay? So in our project, this is what happens. We have the elapsed time, the time in our project, and we're computing the sine value of that time. And we're gonna multiply it with mat.py because in wait in a circle has two pies. So one pi is half of rotation and two pies is a full rotation. So if we have 1 pi divided by 2, we get a quarter of rotation.
You get a half. No.
So that's what's happening here.
How do you
in
wait?
our-
No, you need to say that again, please. If you're cutting it in two, why do you get a quarter and not a half?
Wait, so we're multiplying it with pi and divided by 2.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think this is making it slower. Let's see. Even I'm not really. See? I'm not really. I don't memorize everything. I just get it with trial and error. So you can do it with this, the normal speed, or you can multiply everything or divide everything in half to lessen the speed. There.
Okay.
And you can also use that for the position of the cube instead of the rotation. Oh, I have the wrong
Yeah.
spelling.
Yeah, typo. I can't wait for the Q&A. I can't wait to see if people are still alive.
Yeah, And also, last one, we're gonna add like a follow. We will make the camera look at the cube every time it moves. So it's gonna comment this in, then save this. So if it's gonna work there. So
So the camera is
that
following the movement of the cube. Okay, that's okay.
yeah.
Now,
And right
yeah.
now it's not very responsive, so we're just gonna comment in.
Oh, yeah, because
This
we need to
one,
add
I'm not gonna
responsiveness because it was too easy
explain it.
until now.
I'm not gonna explain. It's basically listening if the user is resizing the browser, and it's gonna update everything, the camera and the renderer, to make the scene responsive. So that's just basically it. So there, congratulations on
Yay! We all feel
finishing the talk.
empowered. Thank you so much, JP. Well, can we have a link to everything that you've built so we can play with it? I feel like one of the best ways to actually try and understand how things work is to kind of go into the structure and change it and see what you're affecting. That might help. Might be really useful if we could have all those links. But yeah, thank you so much. It was definitely interesting to see, and I don't know, how long did it take you to learn?
Oh, learning 3GS.
Mm.
I bought Simon's course like last year ago. I didn't understand it really well because I didn't learn JavaScript. So I studied JavaScript part time by like for 6 months. I wasn't really studying it that hard, and after that, I kind of have a okay grasp with JavaScript, and I started it again starting this year, January, and I'm studying it until now,
Yeah.
along with JavaScript.
Well, that's great. You're showing resilience and, that people can achieve. So well done for that. Yeah, I'm really curious to open up the floor. So, people, if you do have any questions, please put your emoji hand up and we'll get to you. So, just like there you go. I can see Maria with her hand
I
up.
wanted to say that I did exactly the same thing with JP. I started with JavaScript, I went 3JS, and then I was like, the hell with this. And I went back to JavaScript, and now I'm going back to 3JS. Because I got to the point I was like, okay. I'm missing like the basics of the language. Like, okay, go back.
Yes. So right now, I'm studying this JavaScript course that is recommended by FinSuite. It's really good, and
Oh,
it's
yes.
really gonna teach you step by step on what JavaScript is. I'm not even finished with this. I'm just right here
Where
at
is
the
it?
part
Where
two.
is it? We're still on screen sharing. Okay. I lost you for a
Yes.
minute. Okay, Udemy, which one is it? The complete JavaScript course from zero to expert. All right, do you mind
Yep.
sharing that in the chat as well? Mirella, I'm sending you all the links, so if you could please put them into our Discord, as I can't open any more tabs on my end.
I
There you
tried to
go.
put the links in the Figma file,
Awesome.
and
Thank you so
this
much.
is the 3GS journey course of Ronnie Simon that made me learn JavaScript or 3GS. I mean, and I'm not yet finished with this either. I think I'm around here at the four shader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm around here. So you don't really need to finish everything to start creating 3GS projects.
Mhm.
But that's really great. And, I'm sure we can integrate your fantastic talk from today. And, like, if people are interested, they can go ahead and try this course as well. Have you ever used Spline? Because that's under my radar as well.
Yep, I've used Spline. If you can see, I have a clonable of Spline here. It's
Mm.
like an inline 3D object in Spline. So it's really good for making quick and accented 3D models in your project.
Is it easier?
But it's easier, but it's not very interactive. You want to create very interactive 3D stuff in your websites. I'm not sure if it's the best solution for that, but you can use Spline if you know React, and you can get the code of the Spline in a React form and use that to create 3GS websites.
That's cool. So basically, what we need now is somebody to invent a no-code tool for 3D web elements.
Well, Spline is kind of a no-code version of Speed.js. kind of.
But you need to know React, he was just saying.
No, you can import it as an iframe.
Okay.
You don't
Yes.
have to go code. That's why I'm calling it. For me, Spline is the no-code equivalent because you can create it in there, move it, and it moves around, and you just paste the embed, and you're done.
Yep, this one that I made in Spline before.
Edna agrees.
It's like a flower.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And I'm not sure how to make this out here. It's supposed to be moving
Oh yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
slowly. It's like a blooming flower. It's really good to, like, a first step to diving into the 3D world online.
Yeah, I've been trying to get in contact with them as well. I'll try and get them in, but maybe Maria can give us a tutorial as well. Look at her happy face.
Yeah, actually, I've been using it the last 4 days for something. So, but I've been using only the materials part. That's what I do.
All right, let's see. Oh, Gabriella's got a question. She's got her hand up. Go on, Gabriella.
Hey,
Hello.
just wanted to ask, since I've been playing around the Bruno Simon website a little bit, I saw that he made like a place of the website where you can make the car jump. And I wanted to ask you if you know if 3GS manages the physics by himself, or if you have to code the physics as well.
Yeah, the physics is a different plugin, but you can use it with 3GS. So there are a few 3GS or 3GS physics libraries, but what mostly people use is Canon.js. So you can
Okay,
search
so you can use
for,
other libraries with it. Okay.
yes. So in this
Okay,
one,
thank you.
we are using Canon as a physics library. So yeah.
And also for the collision, I guess, or
Yep.
okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's Canon.
I saw Bruno comment because someone asked him in the forum, but I can't remember exactly his answer because, well, I was like, but he answered it either in a video or something somewhere because everyone is like wondering about that portfolio page, you know? So it's like, and the most common question is like physics. What's going on with physics? And then he makes, there is definitely a video because I remember him changing like in the GUI, and then the car floats and jumps. It's almost in the moon or something.
Josh has got a question in the chat. Hi, Josh, by the way. Really nice to have you here. How much market potential do you think there is for someone to specialize in 3D? I think it's huge because there's people like me that don't
Yeah,
understand.
I think it's very huge because right now, all of the awards websites have some form of 3D in it. So I think the web world is going in that direction. But I also think that the 2D websites will stay. Like, there's gonna be like an accessibility way to consume websites. You can choose in 3D or in 2D in the future. That's what I think that's gonna happen. So I think 3D is here to stay since every device is getting more powerful and more powerful, so that we can use 3D stuffs everywhere. Does that answer your questions?
Thanks,
Or-
JP. Yeah. Could you expand more on like accessibility for 3D? Like what type of things to look out for, they're waiting for?
Yes. Right now, there's not really a huge field of accessibility in 3D, but there are certain ways we can add accessibility in 3D. For example, if you look at in games, they have like difficulties like easy mode, hard mode, and impossible mode. Maybe you can add like an easy mode for those that doesn't want really to control the experience. They just want like a roller coaster ride without putting inputs like pressing the keyboard. Maybe we can add those type of ways to add accessibility to our websites, or even like a another type of websites where there's no 3D element but only 2D elements that
Mm,
expand it more.
very interesting. Okay, thanks.
I
It's,
wonder.
it's
I wonder if in the future with VR, things could become more accessible because maybe I don't know, you're wearing your thingies and you can feel things being around you more like in a physical world. And I think that direction would make actually these experiences a little bit more accessible because well, they're definitely not accessible to everyone.
What if you've got a sight impairment?
Yeah, that's why it's like, but I'm thinking if you have a VR set and you have sounds and things react to your hands and you can feel them being there, then it's not the same experience, but then also the world is not the same experience for you as an impaired person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe at least it gets closer to the things I don't know. Just thinking. I just came up with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe vibrations, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Hey, accessibility expert, I can hear you. I can hear music as well.
Sorry.
That was a good tune. Oh, Mirella, so it wasn't you. I thought Mirella was talking. It's just Penny banging her tunes. Oh, iPad. Oh, is it the Webflow Live started?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe.
Mirella, dangerous thinking was my
No, it's automate all the things is what I'm watching.
Oh, Aaron, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna jump off, but thank you so much, JP. This was fabulous. I loved the way you explained things by sort of connecting them to real world things that we understood, like the projector, the camera, the scene. That made it all make so much sense. So thank you.
That's very
Thanks
true.
for
Thank
that.
you so much for being here, Penny.
Well, okay, bye.
Bye. Take care. Right, let's have a look. People here around the table. Do you have any more burning questions for JP? Otherwise, we can let him go. You've killed them, JP.
our brains are fried.
Yes. I hope everyone feels like they've acquired a second brain today, because I feel like I'm growing one. I don't know if it's a functioning one, but it's growing. All right. Well, if nobody else has got any more questions, thank you so much for being here, JP. Please do hang out with our community if you want. I'm sure if people have got any more questions, they can reach out to you, and I'll let you know how it goes if we ever try to get our hands on Three.js, and we might definitely need some help from an expert like you.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me here. It's really fun.
Yeah, my pleasure. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and close the YouTube. Just one sec. All right, YouTube people. Here we go. I hope that you just feel like a little bit more empowered, like we did, and not so confused like we do as well. All right, enjoy, and I'll see you next week.